My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, we have a wide receiver from Taft. His name, Skyler Bell. Skyler, it's a pleasure to be able to have you on.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, Skyler, before we get into the time with Taft and what you've done with the program, just kind of tell me about your background. What got you into playing football?
So I come from, I would say, a football family. All of my brothers played football. One played in college, one stopped in college. My dad also played football, and I've been playing since I was around the age of 5. And ever since then, I just, stayed with it and just, kept pushing and grinding and trying to be the best that I can, and got to where I am today.
Do you think that because you had older brothers, your dad as well kind of played football, not so much that it was pushed onto you, but it kind of gave you an avenue like, okay, I see what they're doing in their success. Maybe I can try to replicate that.
Yeah, I would say that. I look up to my brother a lot, especially the one who's right above me, O'Shea. He also went to Taft. He did a PG year there in 2012 to 2013. And, seeing them and, seeing how much fun they have playing the game and how much they love the game and the passion, it really stuck with me. And, I wanted to feel that same energy. So
who would you say was probably, I don't want to say the most supportive, but who do you think helped you the most as you were, going through the age groups in football?
Probably my dad and my oldest brother, because they both helped me a lot because they both came up through the same, New York City football programs, and they knew all the programs, and they knew, what it was like playing in that league and playing against the kids that we play. They're all tough kids, and, New York City, we're not really looked at for, football as much as basketball. And, they just really pushed football as, trying to be the best and, trying to win at everything.
Tell me a little bit about the city programs in New York, because I know in different states, for players that I've talked to, they've mentioned how the programs are different in each state because the way they're ran, maybe different schemes, different coaching style. Just tell me about the ones in New York.
So I played for 2 programs. First, I played with the Bronx River Bulldogs, and that was a team that was around for a pretty a long time. And that team, it was hard-nosed football. The coaches got on you, and they wanted to win. And because in that league, we weren't looked at as one of the best teams, but we wanted to make sure that when teams came to the Bronx to play us, that they knew that we were about business. And then later on, I played for the Bronx Knights, which was another program that, at first we were a top team in the league. I think went to the playoffs our first year and lost to the Brooklyn Skyhawks. And, all those teams have a bunch of players, from, kids going to Purdue and Virginia and Syracuse and Minnesota, Boston College. So, we had some dudes in that league. And, I would say that league is definitely probably one of the best that I've played in. It's very hard-nosed, tough. And if you're not tough, it's going to be tough to make it out that league.
Now, how did you shape up against the guys who I know it was a young age, and I know it may be hard to kind of look at that and say, oh, I did well, but how was it going up against the guys that later on you saw went to, like you mentioned, a lot of Power 5 schools?
Mm-hmm. So, we all of us, we actually had a group chat with each other, and we were all good friends, but, one Saturday came, it was all business. And I would say I played pretty well against them. I wasn't as big as I was obviously now, and I wasn't the biggest kid on the field back then. So playing quarterback, I had to, make do where it was possible, and I had to throw against kids that were bigger than me and sometimes faster and stronger and things like that. But I would say that in the long run, looking back, I think I played pretty well. My first year, I won quarterback of the year, which was a big deal for me. That was a good honor. And, yeah, other than that, I would say, against those guys, because those are some pretty talented kids, I think I played pretty well.
So you played quarterback. Interesting, because there was another wide receiver for Taft, Vines, who I talked to, he played quarterback as well. So it seems like both you and him went to the wide receiver position, and he kind of jumped off and was, as you saw, he was a wide receiver for less than a couple of years, and he's getting Division I offers. So that must
Yeah.
be well for you as you see that.
Yeah. I started playing wide receiver coming to Taft my sophomore year or so last year. And sophomore year I didn't really get that much playing time at receiver. I kind of played defense a lot more than I played receiver. I think I only had around 10 to 15 catches maybe sophomore year. I wasn't I was a sophomore. I was young. It was actually my first year playing varsity football. And, playing around guys like Deontay, who also it was his first year playing, but, he's a very good athlete and, he made the transition pretty easy. And then junior year, coming up and really working on my craft that sophomore, spring, and summer and just having, a big year at receiver at my first, real full season at receiver, which was good.
What do you think were some of the things that you had to work on your first year? Because you said that you didn't play too much with Taft. So what was the things that you had to work on at the wide receiver position, or even just as a football player itself?
I would say first was my route running, because route running is probably the biggest thing for a receiver, especially when you're trying to get open against DBs that are good. And I worked on that a lot with Deontay and other receivers on our team. And then the next thing I will probably say is tracking skills, because you gotta learn how to track the ball. Balls come different from different routes and things like that, and your job is to make the catch. So you have to practice each and every route, each and every situation that the ball can come, and you got to come down with the catch in the game.
When did you notice that? Because I know at certain points, either during a game, during a practice, or even at the end of a season, you feel to yourself like, okay, like things are starting to click. When for you did things start to kind of go well and go upward for you?
I would say things started to go upward right after I got my first offers, the spring of my sophomore year. That's when I started really cleaning up my routes and cleaning up my craft and, getting better ball skills and, winning 50-50 balls and, just becoming a more polished receiver, especially after, not getting as much time sophomore year. So I would think, that sophomore, spring, summer was when, I was like, okay, things are going well for me.
So you said the offers kind of, I don't want to say kind of woke you up and said, okay, I really need to work on this, but it kind of gave you it kind of gave you more motivation, I guess is the right word, to be like, okay, if I'm getting these offers and I'm still raw, imagine what I could be if I improve on my craft.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what it was. I thought, my first few offers, it was Iowa, Virginia, UMass, and Rutgers. And, once I got those, I was like, okay, let me really start trying to improve my craft because, at this point, I was thinking, the sky's the limit. And, I'm just gonna keep working on my craft and hopefully, bigger and better things to come.
I like how you're just like, yeah, Iowa, Big Ten, Virginia, ACC. You mentioned Big Ten. Yeah, whatever. I'm just getting offered, next it'll be Alabama and then whatever. That's really impressive, though. Seriously, like I mentioned this to Vines too when I talked to him. Like the way that because you guys played another position and the fact that you were getting offers so quickly for being at the position for less than a couple of years. I mean, you're facing dudes that have been playing wide receiver for 5, 6, 7, 8+ years, and they're not getting the offers that you guys are because the talent is there and you guys have such raw ability.
Right. Yeah. It was definitely, I use the word surreal in the moment because I remember me and Deontay got the Iowa offer the exact same day at the exact same time. And we came back to the dorms and everybody was asking me like, yo, like, oh, that's crazy. Like Iowa, blah, blah, blah. And that's when it really hit me. I was like, oh, snap. Like Iowa, like that's a top 25 school year in and year out. And, it definitely, it kicked in and I was like, okay, like, let me really start working because I think I played receiver for a year, not even a full season at that. And I was like, okay, what happens if I really start kicking it up and I have a good year my junior year, and so on and so forth.
Is there any particular conference that you want to be at? I know some guys I've talked to prefer, the Big Ten because there's a lot of schools around the Northeast per se. Some people, other players have told me that they prefer other conferences even outside the Power Five just because they want to be away from their home and they want to try to be able to just be on their own.
I wouldn't say I have a specific conference, but I mean, the way my recruitment process has went, I have offers from 3 out of the 5 Power 5 conferences. I don't have a SEC or a Pac-12 offer.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I have the Big 12 is a great conference. West Virginia, great school. And then I have Big 10 offers from Iowa, Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Rutgers. So it's definitely, I wouldn't say I want to be in a specific conference, but the way it's looking, I would say it's either going to be Big 10 or ACC or Big 12. Just from looking at the offers that I have right now.
Hey, if you go to the Big 12, I mean, they're known for putting up like 90 points a game.
Yeah,
If you're going to West
exactly.
Virginia, you'll go up against, Oklahoma, and you just name all the Big 12 schools. It's a lot of offense, but it kind of plays well for your skill set because of your speed and the fact that you can catch the ball.
Right, yeah. I was talking to West Virginia and Coach Brown and Coach Parker, and they make it known that, hey, we're going to throw the ball, and we're going to throw it a lot, and we're going to get the ball to our playmaker so they can make plays.
Do you ever kind of look at it where, I know you're still kind of young and I know you haven't made a commitment yet, but do you ever kind of look at, okay, if I went to this school, I'd go up against, let's say in the Big 12, Texas, Oklahoma, you think about all the schools, then you think about the Big 10, you got Michigan, you got Rutgers, you just think about like, okay, you start putting that in your mind, like if I go here, I'm going to be facing these teams who could be having these players and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's actually what I look at a lot, especially because you play against the best defenses and you play well against those defenses. My dream's to play in the NFL, so you play well, NFL scouts are going to see that. So definitely look at it like that. Like Big 10, I'm going to play against, Ohio State and the Penn States and Michigans and, the Iowas and things like that. So then Big 12, Texas, Oklahoma, TCU, all those schools. And then, ACC, you got Clemson, you got North Carolina. So it definitely, definitely plays a factor because, when you look at it like that, you can see like, okay, if we play against, Ohio State and, have a good game, everybody sees that, so.
That's the thing too, because just like what you mentioned with Ohio State, I mean, they're breeding defensive backs left and right.
Right.
I mean, they had the kid Okuda drafted by the Lions.
Right.
2 years ago was Denzel Ward. I mean, I'm leaving out some other guys too that were drafted from their secondary, but that just goes to show. And I said the same thing to Vines as well. And I hate to keep bringing him up, but you two are just one of the most talented guys I've seen at Taft in a long time. But what I told him was, if you go up against the best, like from Ohio State, if you shove against them, scouts will remember that. They will write that down because they view. I mean, I saw the next Mel Kiper does a draft for the 2021 draft. There's a bunch of Ohio State guys there again. So that goes to show you produce against teams like that. People will not forget that.
Right. Yeah. No, I actually have a good relationship with Deontay. I'm very close. So I actually was talking to him actually before we got on this. And we were talking about that. Like, we were looking at his schedule coming for his freshman year. And, he has to play Penn State and Ohio State, and I think Michigan too. And I don't know if those are home or away, but those are what they call the logos. And he plays well against those schools. I told him, you're in the spotlight, so I'm really happy for him. I'm proud of him, and I hope he does his thing out there.
And what's good too, that helps, and same for you, depending on where you go to school. If the program is on the trajectory up, more often than not, they're going to be on the big time games like Fox Sports. If they make even better, if they make the college playoff, then you're on ESPN. I mean, you're getting all the publicity that you would need because then the better the team is and the better that their record and so forth is, then the more people will talk. And NFL guys from scouts that I've talked to have told me that they watch to see how the kids react to success. I think that's probably one
Right.
of the biggest components, because if they're reacting well to both the team doing well, but also themselves not acting like hot dogs, then
Right.
it helps you for your draft process.
Right. No, that makes 100. That's makes perfect sense. Because the NFL is a business, and NFL, you're on every Sunday. You're playing, and that's the only thing that's on Sundays. So people are watching NFL games, so they're gonna see how you deal with all that spotlight on you. So
Is there any particular um, player or team that you watch? It could be in the college game or the pro game.
well, I'm an Eagles fan. In the NFL,
You had to
been an
be an
Eagles
Eagles
fan.
fan. You had to be.
Yeah, I'm an Eagles fan. Been an Eagles fan for as long as I can remember.
Mhm.
College, it's tough because the college game. Besides, I would say those top three teams: Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State. I would say it changes from year to year. Those last 4 to 15, I would say. So I like to watch a lot of college games because those are kids that I'm going to be playing against in less than a year, or actually 2 years. So I think things like that.
Have you picked up any sort of like route combinations or just how they maybe work off the field? Anything in particular?
Yeah. So I talked with my Coach Worley, and I get on a bunch of Zoom calls with a bunch of schools, and they show me some of their routes and their concepts and things like that. And I always go back and text Coach Worley like, hey, like check this out, and he'll check it out, and we'll try to get it into our offense because they do have some very good and effective routes that they run.
Are they difficult? Because obviously, with that being the next level, they're kind of looked at as basically the routes are being like if you're running up against a Division I cornerback.
Yeah, yeah. So I do try to map them out when I go work out on the field, and I try to run them. And some are easier than others, like some of their double moves and things like that. But then they have a lot of read routes where you're reading the defense on the fly, and you need to know what to do if safety comes down, if the safety drops back, it's just closed middle, open middle. So I guess it comes with practice and just working on it as much as possible.
Skyler, I really do appreciate you coming on the show. And I just have one more question, for you before we get off. What is your vision for the 2020 season? Where do you see yourself and the team?
Coming in this year, I think we have a very good team. We have a bunch of PGs coming in. I believe that we can be a championship team in New England. I think that if we play our best and we do what we're capable of, I don't think there's a team that can play with us. And then personally, for my goals, I've said it since my sophomore year. Senior year, I wanted to win Gatorade Player of the Year for Connecticut. So that's one goal that I have, and I'm going to try to work as much as possible to perfect that goal and make it there.
I wish you nothing but the best of luck, Skyler. And hey, whenever you make your commit or win Gatorade Player of the Year or do both at the same time, you're welcome to come back on the show anytime you want, man. Seriously.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem. I'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So as always, stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.